is called Transnationalism and Comparative Development in South America, which is the same program that than the one of Regional Integration, Development and Social Change. We just included a new term that is called transnationalism and helps us give us some more elements for which we can use to discuss in the countries we visit. So we visit 4 countries: Argentina, Brazil, Uruguay, and Paraguay. And the program is of a comparative nature. This means that we look at development and public issues in all 4 countries, and we try to make comparisons among them. We still, as always, visit and study regional institutions. So regional institutions that are important over here would be Mercosur, and this would be more or less comparable to the European Union. We use theories coming from economics and international relations discipline to study the specific characteristics of regional integration in South America. You can see the map where we have pointed out the countries we visit, but also I just see that we made a mistake. Basically, we visit San Pablo in fall and we visit Porto Alegre in the spring. But basically what I wanted to emphasize is that we visit 2 different locations in Brazil, depending on the semester. Asunción, which is the capital of Paraguay, Montevideo, which is the capital of Uruguay, and then in Brazil it can either be San Pablo or Porto Alegre. And then Buenos Aires is the location of the program where we spend most of the time. I just wanted here to draw a little bit of an explanation of what transnationalism means. To put it in simple words, it is very similar to discussions there is around globalization, only that it is a theoretical framework, that it's a revision of these discussions around globalization. The concept actually has emerged in the US academia, and it has become popular in other parts of the world, and it's quite interesting because there's not too many programs that give a focus on this. So we wanted also to get a little bit more up to date with discussions, academic discussions that are going on here and also in other places of the world. It is a theoretical framework that allows you to study phenomena beyond the state, and you can look at social phenomena, environmental phenomena, economic phenomena, and several spheres in more than one country. So the idea is that whereas many disciplines so far had been focusing in one country or in looking at a topic more focused within one country only, this is a framework that allows you to analyze in multiple countries. And it can look at issues that we've been already looking at, which are institutions that have impact in more than one country, so regional institutions like Mercosur, but it can also help you look at how the social movements, agendas from different countries relate with each other in this world that it's more complex and interconnected. So what does it mean, for example, if gay marriage is approved in Argentina, how this can have an impact in other countries next to Argentina, and likewise environmental issues and other issues. We try to look at them in an interconnected way. Migration and how migrants behave politically, how do they organize their family care, is also a very important topic that is usually looked at transnationalism. So basically, we are not changing the program much. We are just changing 3 lessons, and we are changing the title of the program, and we are changing the title of one of the seminars. But what I want to make sure that it's clear is that we are not giving a fundamental change to the program. We are still very much focused on what we were focusing so far with regional integration. We are just adding a concept that we find useful and that we think helps us look at things in a more focused way. You have some of the issues that can be looked at from this perspective and that we are already looking at. And I've included a few videos. The one, for example, on LGBT rights is in English, but the others are in Spanish. But they do mention a few of the interconnections of the agendas of the countries that I'm mentioning and that we focus on. So basically now what I'm going to do is describe you the program, and while I describe it, I'm basically describing very much what we were doing so far. So maybe I'm going to mention some changes, but our program focuses on development issues from a multifaceted perspective. So we discuss theoretically and in the practice issues around economic, human and sustainable development. We also look at policy issues related with what we have here, that it's not specifically welfare states, but it's an attempt in some of the countries. And we discuss some of the policies that have been initiated here in the last years. Some of these are Asignación Universal por Hijo and Bolsa Familia in Brazil, and these are policies that are very much discussed nowadays in the world and evaluated to see how poverty can be overcome. No? So this is a discussion related with our development agenda. Then the regional discussions I mentioned, but maybe I want to add that a student that comes here to follow this program might have already been familiarized with discussions around the European Union or Asian bloc, and here obviously we try to explain a little bit the regional identity that we have in this part of the world and some of the contributions that are done by different scholars by looking at a reality that is different and cannot be compared 100% to the European Union and its institutions. So we try to explain here what the origins are of regional integration, what the challenges have been, how the agenda has changed over time. Another topic that we look at is memory and justice. We look at the dictatorships that have taken place in all 4 countries, and we make comparisons among them. So the seminars, in slide 7, as you can see, we have the Development and Social Change seminar that remains exactly the same, and in this one, apart from some of the theoretical discussions that I mentioned, we have the visit to Paraguay, which is one of the poorest countries in the region. So here there's a lot of development cooperation, and we use this country to discuss many of the issues that are discussed in development aid. We continue to have another seminar focused on regional processes, which has changed its name, and it's Transnationalism and Regional Processes in the Southern Cone. And for this seminar, we visit Brazil and Uruguay. A little bit more in detail the modules that we look at. Perhaps here I forgot to mention that the Development and Social Change seminar starts with Argentina and then finishes with Paraguay. Then we have in slide 9 more detail on the other seminar. Basically, we always try to have the first few lectures in Argentina, and then we travel to the countries, to Brazil and to Uruguay. Like always, we have a research methods course. We are seeing in the short future perhaps to introduce the possibility of doing internships also within our research methods course, and our idea will be that internships will be done either in Argentina or Paraguay. This is something that I'm discussing with Victor, and we are working for this to include it for next year, but we might start with a pilot this year. The only thing that maybe I want to add about this change of name is that with the research methods course and this new view, we will have students that probably will use transnational discussions a little bit more in their ISP projects. We have had already last semester a student that used transnationalism discussions for her ISP, so if you are interested, I can also share with you that. The idea is that regional integration theories, they allow you to do an ISP, but often, since regional integration focuses a little bit more on the institutions, sometimes we are limited by using only the framework of regional integration. And with transnationalism, we are able to also include ISP projects that focus on organizations and are looking relations of the organizations in one and the other country. Here are the partners we work with. We work with one of the most important universities in Uruguay, that is Universidad de la República. We also have a very good partner, Universidad Federal do Rio Grande do Sul in Porto Alegre. These are two universities. And in San Pablo and in Asunción, we work with research institutes. In San Pablo, it's called the EEEP, and in Asunción, CDE, as you can see. These are the partners that also help us get in touch with tutors for our ISP projects if students decide to do their ISPs outside Argentina. Students can do their ISPs either in Uruguay, Argentina, or Paraguay, but they are not allowed to do their ISP in Brazil, mainly because of the language. We encourage students to do their projects in Spanish, and in Brazil it would mean they would need to understand Portuguese, and it's not the objective of the program. Our lectures in Brazil are given by professors that speak English or Spanish, and the visits, usually there's always a translator. These are some of the topics we look at in Argentina. Rather than putting each visit, we decided to just share with you some of the themes. So, for example, solidarity economy, social movements, the last dictatorship, and the right to the city. Mainly here, I want to mention that we visit a shantytown in Buenos Aires, we visit a shantytown in Brazil, so we have discussions around problems with urbanization that go beyond just one city, and we discuss the phenomena of shantytowns in the region. In Paraguay, we do similar issues. Also, we visit shantytowns, but we discuss also the specific characteristics of the dictatorship in Paraguay. But most importantly, here it's our opportunity to visit one of the evidences that there is in the region that the dictatorships back in the 70s were very much interconnected. So we discuss also transnationalism from this perspective, how dictatorships and dictators shared information back in the 70s, and also how the human rights movement has spread throughout the region and supported itself in the 80s with the democratization process in all countries. In Paraguay, we take the chance also to discuss GLBT issues, but our idea is not that we discuss only that Paraguay is, for example, trying to legalize gay marriage or some of the issues that are being discussed there with gender identity. We also take the opportunity to discuss what have been the achievements in Uruguay, what have been the achievements in Brazil and Argentina, and how organizations work together. Indigenous rights, it's the same issue. We visit an indigenous community in Paraguay, which is already an indigenous community that is interconnected with other organizations in the region. And here I might say it's not only the countries we visit often that we end up discussing, but also how these indigenous organizations are connected with the rest of Latin America's priorities of the indigenous communities. In Brazil, we look at the Afro-descendant issue. In Brazil, there's a large Afro-descendant community. In Uruguay, it's smaller, and in Argentina and Paraguay, it's less visible. So that's why we take the chance to discuss the topic in Brazil, and we make often sometimes comparisons to issues around Afro-descendants in US as well. We visit one of the most important peasants movements in the world, which is the landless movement. So when we are in San Pablo, we visit the headquarters of this movement, and we visit a school that is there for different political activists around Latin America to get together and discuss their joint objectives. In Uruguay, we have classes at the university, and this is the part perhaps where our experiential learning is a little bit more institutional, because we visit headquarters of Mercosur. Sometimes we go to the parliament in Uruguay and we discuss some of the policies that are being launched in Uruguay. Uruguay is a very small country. It's one of the most egalitarian countries, so it's very different to Paraguay and Brazil, where inequalities are very strong. So Uruguay has also interesting innovations in policy making. So we often bring these issues to the table, and we have students going back often to discuss, for example, digital programs that are launched in public policies in Uruguay, or recently there has been some progressive innovations like the legalization of abortion. It's the only country in the region that has legalized abortion. We discuss it in Uruguay and the implications for the region. So this is more or less the program in a nutshell. I don't know, Vanessa, if you have questions, if I can add anything.